My name is Jennifer Johnson Williams. I'm 39 years old, and I'm a detox living coach for the Detox Now. I always had horrible cycles, but I knew there was a definite issue once my cycles became so painful. They were unbearable. And once my flow became so heavy that I was housebound during my cycle. I knew then that I needed to get help and that I needed to see what was happening. The moment that made me look into my health, I had one of the most horrible cycles I had ever had. The pain caused me to vomit more than usual, and it caused me to vomit every month during every cycle for several days. I knew then something was very off and that I needed a deeper look into whatever was happening with my cycle because I knew that was not normal. I went to an OBGYN and she did a transvaginal ultrasound and discovered that there were fibroids. And this was in 2010, 2011. I was told that I needed to start taking birth control, and I was told that I needed to do that in order to regulate the cycle and dial back the bleeding. The birth control caused more issues, and that led to hormone replacement therapy, which caused even more issues. And the next time I went, I was told I needed surgery. The symptoms that I experienced were off the charts. I would start cramping a couple of days before the cycle. It would start with just mild discomfort and snowball into vomiting from the pain, into having the pain wrap around my torso. And it would be so painful that I would pull patches of hair out. I would be in so much pain. And then when the vomiting started, I would be completely dehydrated by the end of it all. The dehydration caused me to have IVs, and I would have to have them so often to the point my husband just said, let me just do it at home. He's a firefighter paramedic, so he was able to do that. I was grateful that he was able to do that because I didn't want to have to go to the ER every single month. I would get those IVs. It would kind of help rehydrate me because it would take so much from me that I literally couldn't even hold water on my stomach. So food was out of the question. I definitely needed that IV. Pre-detox living, my cycles were 17 to 21 days. That's of bleeding time. I would get 1 week and a half to possibly 2 weeks if I was blessed before it would all start back over. I would have to wear a tampon, a Super Plus tampon, a heavy overnight pad, and I would have to put that pad inside of an adult diaper. And sometimes it still wouldn't hold. I was changing about every 45 minutes to an hour when it was at its worst, which was at least the first 8 days or so of that 17 to 21 days. When it got to a point where I had to wear a diaper, it was devastating. I thought I was doing a lot already by wearing the most absorbent tampon I could find, the biggest, heaviest pad I could find. When that stopped being enough, and when it came to a point where it was like someone turned on a tap and it was just running past all of that like nothing was there, I was like, oh boy, I know I'm in trouble. And now I got to wear a diaper on top of it all. It devastated me. It took something from me that I thought I would never get back at one point. The day that things got really bad, I was at work. I had my little arsenal of pads and tampons like I always do, a full purse full when I was going to work just to be sure there were no accidents. This particular day, my body didn't care. I ran through a whole thing of pads. I ran through every tampon that I brought with me. I messed up my clothes at work, and I had to wrap a sweater around my waist so that I could cover the mess and get out of the workhouse without embarrassment. I remember having to go to my car and put a plastic bag down so that I could drive home. And as soon as I got home and stood up and got in the house, it's like everything just ran out. It created such a mess. I didn't even know how to feel about that. One, it was devastating, but two, I thought maybe I was about to hemorrhage to death. This was new. Of course, I've always bled heavy, but the fact that I had on all these things and it didn't hold, it took my fear to a whole nother level. I knew I had hit a new low. It affected my quality of life terribly. I was no longer myself. I had to plan my life according to my cycle and what my cycle would allow. I was no longer a whole person. If someone had a wedding, a party, a birthday party, something that I would miss that I could never make up, it didn't matter. My body didn't care. I was housebound for 2 weeks out of the month. And it broke me. It broke me. It changed me because I was no longer in control in any way, shape, or form. Professionally and financially, my cycle ruined me. I went from being a professional licensed massage therapist to having to give that up, having to give up what I loved doing so much because I couldn't physically lift my massage table anymore. I couldn't physically stand there for 2 hours giving a deep tissue massage or anything like that anymore. My body simply wouldn't let me do that. And it was horrible. So I took a job that I thought would be easier. I sat the lady down that hired me and explained my situation to her, explained my condition to her. And I was able to work there for 4 years. And then they finally got tired of my situation as well. I remember my boss telling me, you should just go have surgery and get it over with. It's only going to get worse from here. She felt like, number one, she could give me medical advice. And number two, her disgust for what I had going on, was clearly showing. And I just felt it was so out of line. But they finally got tired of me missing because, again, I was down for the count for 2 weeks out of the month. What job can you hold when you're gone for half of a month? And then when you get back, you're weak. You can't pick up things like you need to. If it's over 10 pounds or so, it'll cause bleeding. It was a mess. It ruined me financially, professionally. It changed my life for the worst. It was a nightmare. It was also a blessing because when I was forced to leave that job, I was also forced to focus on my health, to focus on doing whatever it took to get me out of that hole, to make sure that I survived what I had going on. Personally and relationally, it also ruined a lot of friendships and things like that because people did not understand that I wasn't acting funny. I didn't not come to your event or whatever you had going on because I didn't want to be there. I was at home in a diaper, throwing up, sick, losing my lifeblood, and not in control of my body. And that changed a lot of relationships because people that don't go through it only see from the outside. They only see from a certain scope. They don't fully understand what you're going through. They just know this person is different. This person has changed. She's not coming to events. Our relationship has changed. It ruined a lot. My fibroids and my cycle affected my marriage horribly because I could no longer be physically intimate at one point. It was so painful that my husband was afraid to touch me at certain points because he knew usually afterwards there would be bleeding. And usually afterwards I would begin to hurt and cramp. And this could last until the cycle returned because I already had such a short window of a week and a half to 2 weeks that sometimes it would just be the ruination of even that little short hiatus or that short break that I would have. So it really impacted our marriage. But thankfully, I have a man that was not only in the medical field, but one who understood pain and suffering. So we were able to overcome that, but it was certainly an obstacle. Emotionally and spiritually, it brought me down to a whole new low. Spiritually, I was low. I was upset. I believe in God, and I was always, believing in his healing and all these things. And for me to get to that point where I can't get out of bed for 2 weeks, I'm like, God, where are you? I had to question it. I questioned it at one point, and it broke me emotionally because I was no longer a normal functioning human being, no longer a normally functioning wife or sister or daughter. I couldn't do the things that I was used to doing. I couldn't be a part of certain things that I was used to being a part of. And it literally broke me. I tried several solutions before the detox now, starting with birth control, hormone replacement therapy. I went to several different holistic doctors, and my symptoms were so severe that I truly don't believe they knew where to place me or what to do for me in the scope of their healing because of how severe everything was. I remember one of them even putting me on a drug that is used for cancer patients that have tumors, and it normally shrinks their tumors, but it didn't work for me. And I had one holistic doctor put me on progesterone, and it grew my tumors so rapidly until the next time I went back. They even thought hysterectomy was an option for me at that point. My body did not respond well to birth control. Yes, it brought the days of bleeding down, but if I missed a day, sometimes you'll miss a day and take 2 the next day to make up for that. If I did that, I was going to bleed for 30 days straight. Once it even kept up for 2 months straight after I missed a pill. After that, the doctor recommended hormone replacement therapy to help me replace some of the blood and some of the things that I lost. And that actually made things much worse as well. I was sitting there. It gave me insomnia. I would sit up and wait on the spot in the ceiling to move, or just stare and focus at something and be out of it. It was crazy. I had to take myself off of it. My doctor, oh no, you need to keep taking it. I'm like, no, I'm done with this. This is making me feel like I'm nuts. I'm done. Surgery was not an option for me for a few reasons. Number one, I trusted God and the creation that he made that knows how to heal itself if we put it in the right situation. I just was not yet in the knowledge of how to do that. My second reason for not wanting to do an open surgery, I had a best friend that had a myomectomy. Her fibroids grew back, and during her second myomectomy, she woke up with nothing. It went terribly wrong. She lost her womb in our 20s. And I did not want that to happen to me. That shouldn't happen to anyone. But that certainly struck a fear in me that caused me to not want to do any type of invasive surgery, especially being here in the South. We have a saying, if you have the wrong doctor, you're going to get the Southern way of being castrated. The Southern, we call it, the Southern castration, because you will go in expecting one thing and come out with nothing. So it struck a fear in me, and I was determined to not do an invasive surgery. The third thing was that I really wanted to preserve my fertility. By doing an open myomectomy, I knew that the doctors here will force you, if you are able to become pregnant, they're going to want to force you to do a cesarean. And that's not something I wanted. So there were several different reasons for not wanting that open surgery, not to mention the pain and the healing process of all of it. It's scary. It's a scary thing to lay there and put your life in someone else's hands. I always say that I learned about the detox now through divine intervention. I had a UAE scheduled. I was at my wit's end. I needed relief and I needed something now. And I was 1 week out from that UAE. And I prayed about it. I did not feel at ease. I could not bring myself to feel at ease about this surgery. So when I prayed, 1 week out from that surgery, a family member sent me a link of Coach Gessie's video on YouTube. From there, I actually commented on her YouTube page and she answered. So I always say it was divine intervention. When she was aware that I had this surgery scheduled, she was like, wait a minute, there might be some things you don't know about, and there may be some risks you're not aware of. Can we talk first? I was so grateful because there was a lot I didn't know about that surgery. There was a lot of risks that the doctor that I did the consult with lied about. And I found out these were risk factors. There were huge risks, even though this was less invasive, it was still not something I wanted. So I knew that it was divine intervention. I also had 7 women come to me within a day or two and say, hey, I had that surgery done. Don't do it. It didn't work for me. Or I know somebody that had it done, or my sister had it done and it didn't work for them. Don't do it. I was like, okay, this is like a big red stop sign. I couldn't ignore the signs. And I immediately canceled it. I decided that I needed to do something different, something drastic, something radical in order to change my life, because what I was going through was drastic and radical. And after talking to Coach Gessie, I knew that I needed to do this program. It wasn't a want. I needed to do this program. And it was a blessing. It was such a blessing. It was such a game changer and a life-changing experience for me. And becoming a part of this team has also been a life-changing experience for me. Working with Coach Gessie and Dr. Amoon and the entire team, it has been an eye-opening experience. It has been a life-changing experience. And it has taught me so much that not only helps me, but helps other people in my life on their health journeys. And it's touched numerous amounts of other people that, we can't even number. It's been such a blessing. My life has improved drastically. I went from having a 17 to 21 day cycle to now I'm at like a 6-7 day cycle. I'm not having the pains that I used to have. I've learned how to nourish my body from the inside out. I've learned that no is a complete sentence. It does not require for me to add anything or to explain anything past that. Self-care has been a big, big part of my healing. And I learned that through the detox now, that, it's important to take care of yourself. How can you help others? And how can you be the best version of yourself if you're not taking care of you first? And I've learned so much about self-care and how to implement that in my daily life through the detox now. There was a season in my life during my healing journey that kind of set me back. I was doing well. I was eating all the right things. I was, making progress by leaps and bounds. But I went through a season of loss. I went through a season of grief. I had so much going on that it wouldn't allow me to get where I needed to go in order for me to be healthy. And so I opted to have the assessor treatment done in 2019 to help me on my journey and to try and accelerate my healing, because my doctor sat me down and told me, yeah, you're doing great. I see the changes that are happening, but you're going to have a heart attack if we can't get this going a little faster. And I know that natural healing, every person's timeline of natural healing is unique to them. And my situation was so deep and so delicate at that time. I needed help. And I had to give myself permission to get the extra help that I needed, because I was one of those people, when I set my mind that I'm going to do this naturally, that's just how I'm going to do it. I wouldn't take the blood transfusions or anything after that. But Coach Gessie said something to me that was very mind-blowing when I think back on it. She said, you have to live to fight another day. So if you need to take that iron infusion or that blood transfusion, do it. She said, healing comes in several different ways, and sometimes we need help. And that was the thing that resonated with me and allowed me to realize that, hey, you need help. You're going to die if you don't keep, if you keep this up. So I went ahead and I had the assessor treatment done in August of 2019. Symptoms did get better briefly. It was very short-lived, about 3 or 4 months. I had a lighter cycle with less pain. And after that, symptoms began to creep back. I actually had to go off of my plant-based diet my plant-based lifestyle in order to have this particular procedure done, because my iron was a 2 and my hemoglobin was barely there. And my doctor told me that there was no way I could remain plant-based and play catch up to get where I needed to be in order to have this procedure done. So I went off the lifestyle. I'm like, okay, let me just do this and see what happens. Well, it was short-lived. And I was very, very disappointed about stepping outside of what I was doing something that I really didn't want to do. And it didn't give me what I needed it to give. It was very disappointing. It was heartbreaking. But I was determined to not stop there. I had to keep moving. I had to keep fighting for my healing. So I decided to start back over from scratch. I detoxed all over again. I started back on the supplements. I started back with the lifestyle. I started back making sure the stress was where it needed to be, which was low. And I began to see those changes from there. I had to prioritize my health and do whatever it took to get me to a normal cycle, to normal living and being a whole person again. From there, I was able to get really great results that I hadn't seen in years. My cycle is the shortest it's been in years. With the help of this program, I'm back to 6 or 7 days of bleeding now instead of 17 to 21. I have a life now. The old me is back. She's emerging. She's coming back better than ever and stronger. I made changes that I knew I needed to make. I started from scratch. I went back and I detoxed all over again. Those symptoms of cramping, vomiting, and having the extended cycles began to dial back. I started to see the changes I needed to see by going back to my foundation with the detox living. And I now have those 6 to 7 day cycles that I haven't seen since I was about 13 years old. And I'm 39 now. That's a long time of dealing with heavy bleeding, but change does come. Good things come to those who wait. I had to wait quite a while. I had to put in some work, but that's a long time. But I'm seeing those results now. I'm reaping the benefits of the toil that I put in, the things that I sacrificed, the foods that I sacrificed, living here in the South and loving all things Southern. Those sacrifices were so worth my health, because nothing tasted better than my health. Nothing tasted better than being able to get out and about while I'm on my cycle and not having to just shut down life. It made the difference. I began to pass fibroid tissue again, even though I had a SESA. It doesn't remove the fibroids. It only kills them. And it's supposed to be just dead tissue. But after detoxing again, I began to pass more fibroid tissue. I've passed fibroid tissue in the past on this program, but I didn't know it was possible that I would get more out of dead fibroids coming off. So I was amazed. I passed more tissue. The cycles are getting better and better, still improving after all this time. And I'm just excited, and I'm grateful that I found this program. I'm grateful that I recommitted. Even though I had to take a step out and do something different to help myself, this was the foundation that I needed to come back to. And this is the foundation that will stick with me for life at this point, because it works. It works. You make those changes and it changes you. One of the things that I am super grateful for is the fact that this program is not a one size fits all. When I decided to do the assessor treatment, I received so much support, not just from Coach Gessie, but from Dr. Amun. And it's not a one size fits all. They never treat it as a one size fits all. Whatever it is that you need, if it's something that you need to integrate into your journey, they are so supportive of that. And I'm so grateful of that. And becoming a part of this team, I knew it was going to be a perfect fit when Coach Gessie asked me and when she had the opening for a coach. It was such a blessing, even though I was going through my own journey. Part of me questioned, okay, how can I coach when I'm trying to get there, And she let us know that she went through several different things before she got to her place of health and, her place of maintaining her health at a certain level. And I remembered the scripture, that we overcome by our testimony and the blood of the Lamb. And I felt comfortable and confident that I could help teach this way of living and this lifestyle to other women, because I'm fighting for my own health and I'm going to fight for them just as hard. And it's been such a blessing and an honor to see other women's testimony. It has blessed me every time I see or hear another person's testimony that has been able to overcome their health issue. And, just being a tiny part of that just blesses me. It makes me so happy. And it makes me realize that what we go through is not just for us. Our experiences help hone our life, and they help others along their lives as well, because what we go through is not just for us. And you can't tell someone else, hey, you can make it through this situation. How can you tell them that if you've not been in that space, if you've not been in that low point of life and dealing with those health issues? So it was perfect. It was perfect. I call that divine intervention as well. It came at the right time for the right company and with the right people. And I am so grateful to be a part of this team and for them to have this community of healing warriors in my life has impacted me, my family, and those around me as well. So it's been such a blessing. Ladies, if you are going through a health struggle, whether it's fibroids or whether you're trying to heal those naturally or whether you're trying to avoid them regrowing or an issue reoccurring, come and do a free group consult. If my story resonated with you at all, come do a free group consult and just see what we have available and see what we have to offer that can help you. Because it's not about perfection. This lifestyle is not about perfection. It's about balance. It's about keeping things in balance. And if we fall off the wagon, you chase after that wagon. You get back on there instead of having a pity party. Keep moving forward and keep moving towards your healing. Balance is possible. I want to personally thank Coach Gessie for sharing her story, her pain, and her journey with all of us, because without her doing that, I wouldn't be where I am right now. We wouldn't have this program right now that has blessed me so much and that has blessed so many women and so many people to find their healing. So thank you for sharing what you went through and making that pain an instrument to get the rest of us up that hill and over that mountain and to that next level of healing. And thank you, Dr. Amun, as well, for helping us all through, both of you, helping us through our tough times and being instrumental in our journey of healing. We love you both and thank you so much.